We've got some of many cups in here. More on that later. Over 100 cups, and then we have 8 different types of cups. Or, well, actually, no, 9 different types of cups. I forgot we added another cup. There's a little array of all the cups. I pulled one from all the different places, but you can see we've kind of decorated the set with a bunch of those cups. And even more cups. I think 20 more cups coming with just the deluxe add-on.
So many cups.
So many cups.
Everything down to the fine details of the different cups. I've got some cups stuck on here for decoration. I'm stumbling just because I'm thinking back on how much time I spent counting cups and looking at background details and going through all that. Yeah.
It's our band name.
Yeah, counting cups.
I like cups. Yeah, I'll back it. Welcome back to the channel. This is episode 97 of Brett on Fett, and after some delay, Hasbro finally announced their next official vintage collection HasLab. They did it on a pulse stream on Friday, June 7th, 2024, a weekend that I happened to be on a family trip, so I wasn't able to put out a video about the HasLab until now. And of course, the official announcement was that it was going to be a Cantina HasLab. Now this will come to no surprise for most of you because the Cantina was already leaked as the next HasLab through Hasbro's own Pulse website. And if you watched my couple of videos on the Cantina alien figures that I put out a month or so ago, you'll know that it's really not a surprise to me. This was already hinted at by Yakface, and so I was very confident it was going to be the next HasLab. And that's why I went out and purchased all of those figures before the HasLab got officially announced. So if you haven't checked out those videos, go check them out. There's 2 videos. I'll put a link to both in the description for this video. It's worth a watch if you want to get to know all the best versions of the Cantina aliens currently available. So I've got some interesting pickups to share today. One in particular that will go very nicely with the Cantina. But before we get to those, let's go through the details of this HasLab. All right, so most of you already know about all this. You've already seen this. I wasn't able to put out a video last week, so I'm a bit late, but I'm gonna go through it anyways, just in case, to make sure it's covered and everybody's on the same page. So what you're looking at here is the base version that you can order for $399.99. This is everything that comes with that set, not counting the figures, of course. And then if you order the deluxe version for $499.99, this is the additional alcoves and accessories you get. Now, in addition to those extra alcoves and accessories, if you order the deluxe version, you will also get some additional little details such as this beast head, and there is also some skulls and just little add-ons on the wall decor. And here's a look at the completed Cantina if you order the deluxe version of the playset. And if you order the deluxe version and you have the complete Cantina all pushed together and assembled, it will measure over 29 inches wide by over 32 inches long. But of course, the really awesome thing about this set I love is that it's modular. So you can take it apart, spread it out, display it how you want. So you don't have to have this large coffee table to set the play set on and push it all together. You can spread it out and display the figures and the interiors the way you want. So it's got a ton of flexibility, and I'll talk about that a little more in a few minutes. And I just love the way this thing looks. Here's a shot of the exterior piece with the doorway. It looks fantastic. Here's the entryway. You've got the droid detector there. I love the way the seats look. There's just little details on the seats that are really nice. And they've got that entryway staircase piece. Plenty of tables and stools of different heights. You've got a neat looking hookah at the edge of the bar there. The bar looks fantastic. That's probably my favorite part of the set visually, is all the little details with the IG-88 heads. It really seems they nailed every little detail of that bar, and of course that was extremely important that they get that right. Now, as far as the figures that come with the HasLab, it does not matter if you order the base version or the deluxe version. Either way, you're going to get the same exact carded figures. And we'll start with Wuher, the barkeep, He gets unlocked along with the playset at 8,000 backers, and this makes perfect sense that he would come with this playset and be the very first figure introduced. It is an all-new figure and an all-new card back, and it is an awesome looking card back. And this will be an exclusive figure to this HasLab. Hasbro said they have no plans on making this figure outside of the HasLab, so we've got to back the Cantina in order to get wuher, and he looks great. This is a fantastic looking wuher, long overdue, and I like that they gave him a rifle to defend his bar, and they also gave him swappable hands so he can go from holding that rifle to holding drinks. Okay, wuher is great, but the really big news to many Star Wars fans is that we are finally getting the tonnikasisters, Breya and Cinny, and these will also come with the Cantina at that initial 8,000 backing. So if we get the playset unlocked at 8,000 backers, we will get wuher and both tonnikasisters. It will finally be time for Tonnika, and it looks like they've done a fantastic job with these figures. They are not identical molds. You can see Cinny in the green is taller than Breya in the blue, and that's how it's supposed to be. So it is accurate. Great job by Hasbro not using identical molds for the two sisters. Okay, so the first tier unlock figure is Greedo, classic alien from the Cantina scene, probably the most prominent alien in the scene since he has a large speaking part in that famous scene with Han Solo. And Kenner fans will notice this is not the original card back image from the Kenner release of Greedo. And that's because this is actually an exclusive card back for the HasLab. So this is a figure that, if unlocked, will go to mainline release, presumably with that original 96 Kenner card back. And so the only special thing about this Greedo is an exclusive card back as far as this HasLab goes. And this is probably my only disappointment with this HasLab reveal, is that Greedo was included as a tier unlock when he's going to be a mainline figure anyways. I would have much preferred they just released him as a mainline figure, instead used this tier unlock for another background alien. Now I know that Tim from Bosk's Bounty made the point that Greedo is the most important alien with the Cantina, and so he has to come with the Cantina playset. But I would argue, as long as you made him a mainline figure and targeted the release to be before or at least at the same time as the Cantina itself, then it's really not a big deal. It's kind of similar to how Hasbro is releasing the E-Wing pilot separate from the E-Wing itself. It can work. And I think it's just taking up another slot that they could have used that tier to make another awesome background alien. Okay, but release strategy aside, this Greedo looks amazing. They nailed it. The details look so good for a 3 3/4 figure, and I love his jacket. Everything about him is on point. So really excited to eventually get an all new TVC Greedo. Okay, then there is the second tier unlock, and that is Nebron Leeds. What an awesome looking character. I love that they picked this character to make an all new figure for, because he's got 4 arms and he's got a gas mask and he's got a tube that he can use to drink out of his drink. And I really like how they showed him with his gun hidden behind his back. I can't wait to get that figure, and I really hope we can unlock it. I'm a little bit nervous about getting to 14,000, because although they said the card back is only exclusive to the HasLab, it doesn't necessarily mean they will make the figure if he doesn't back in the HasLab. Now, I don't want to take that chance, so I really hope enough of you back this thing at 14,000 so we can get Nebron Leeds. And finally, for tier number 3, unlocked at 17,000 backers, is Arlisle Schaus, the bat thing. He's kind of a cross between a bat and a wolf, although I actually think he looks more like a bat, even though everybody seems to just call him a wolf man. I think Laxivrak is actually a wolf man type species, and this guy is more closer to a bat man, if you will, man bat. But anyways, he looks awesome also, and it's a great choice for another Cantina alien to do because it's another figure we've never had before. So very excited about this one as well. And again, this one is only an exclusive card back to the HasLab. So if he's backed At $17,000, he will come with the HasLab with that exclusive card back, but then he would be later released in the main line with a different card back. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean if the HasLab is not backed that he will just automatically come out in the main line. I think it is more likely for him to be released in the main line if the HasLab funds the tooling for this figure. But this is just my personal opinion and speculation. I have no information one way or the other. I could be completely wrong. Maybe Hasbro plans to release Nebron Leeds and Ariel Shoes regardless if this HasLab funds. I just don't believe that to necessarily be the case. And so I would rather this thing just get backed to ensure we get these figures. And by the way, that all being said, I don't think that's the case with Greedo. I do believe because Greedo is such a popular character and an original 96er that Hasbro will release him in the main line regardless if the HasLab funds or not. So I just have to be transparent with you guys on my opinion on that. But anyways, overall, these are excellent choices for figures to come with a Cantina, and they all look amazing. Great detailing, great design. Emily really knocked out of the park with these. Alright, so going back to the whole modular feature for the Cantina, Hasbro Pulse put out another video the other day showing how you can display your Cantina on a traditional shelf. And they had this thing on what looked like to be like a cheap Walmart or IKEA shelf, not a very large shelf, and this thing fit just fine on two different levels. And I love how you could display the outside external doorway, entryway on one side, and then you can have the stairwell leading down on the other. So those things aren't locked in with each other. So that's a great feature. And this thing just looks awesome. And so I hope a lot of people see this video to understand they don't have to have some big table to put this thing on. It can fit on a traditional shelf. And the other point I wanted to make, which they made on the video, is about the Cantina band and the perceived band stand. Now I have to come clean and admit to you guys that when the HasLab got announced, I was one of those people saying, where does the band go? Where is the stage for the band? And I had to be put in my place because I did not realize that there is no bandstand on the set of A New Hope for this scene. They are just in front of an alcove, and the band was actually filmed separately in America at Hollywood Studios, versus the majority of the other Cantina scenes were actually filmed in London. And so that's why it's hard to see where the band is exactly during those wide shots of the Cantina, because they're literally not in them. Because they weren't there, they were in another studio. So anyways, Hasbro did not screw this up. They did it right, and they did show here in this latest video that you can fit all 7 members of the band in this alcove. So it does work. So that's great news. All right, so again, we need 8,000 backers by July 8th, 2024 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it does not matter which version you order, whether you order the basic version or the deluxe, your orders will count towards the stretch goals. They do not need a certain amount of base versions versus deluxe versions. It all counts the same. And another common misconception with HasLabs is people think they're going to be charged as soon as they place their order, or they're going to be charged as soon as that first goal is reached. And that's just not the case. You will not be charged until the end of the backing timeline, which is July 9th, 2024. This is regardless of when you place your order or when the HasLab reaches 8,000 backers. And finally, if you're in the US, delivery is free to Pulse Premium members, but only if you become a member before you place your order for the HasLab. You can't order the HasLab and then decide to pay for a membership. It just won't work that way. Even if you order the HasLab but then sign up for Pulse Premium before the HasLab backs, it's already going to be too late. You have to be a Premium Pulse member before you place that order. Alright guys, so I am all in on this thing. I am very excited to have such an amazing diorama set. I think Hasbro's done a great job on this thing. Yes, it's very expensive, so I would not recommend doing this if you do not have the means. This is only for people who have the disposable income to afford such a thing. But just remember, as expensive as it is, it will never, ever be as cheap as it is now. Once this thing is backed, if you don't have your order in, you are going to be paying more money on the secondary market. So just please keep that in mind. Now, I have already backed the deluxe version, very excited, but I am thinking about actually backing a second, which would likely be just a base version. And the reason for that is the figures. I am a carded collector first and foremost, but I have to have these figures out loose in the cantina as well. And so I'm thinking I'm probably going to buy a second set, the basic version, to get those figures so I can open them and have a carded version and a loose version, and then sell off the playset at a reasonable price to someone who, either couldn't afford the entire HasLab, or maybe they just want to add extra alcoves, that sort of thing, to their existing set. And that way I recoup some of my money and I still get the carded version of the figures and the loose version of the figures. And so if you're a carded collector like me and you have the means to do so, I would probably recommend you do the same thing. Otherwise, you're going to be paying very expensive prices for additional figures on the aftermarket, especially for wuher and the tonnikasisters, who are completely exclusive figures for this HasLab. So go back the bar, everyone. Let's get this thing done. Let's unlock all the tiers, get all the figures, and if you have the means to, go ahead and back 2 of them. Oh, and last but not least, if you know you're going to back the Cantina, please do not wait until the last minute to do so. Go ahead and back it now, because momentum is everything with these HasLabs. The more momentum we get, the more backers we get. So please don't wait till the last minute. It does not matter if you wait, because you will not be charged until the end anyway. So go ahead and back the bar now. All right, very quickly, before I move on to some pickups, I do want to acknowledge the other announcement that came from Hasbro when they revealed the Cantina HasLab, and that was pipeline reveals for a all-new Luke Skywalker Tatooine version, Farm Boy Luke, an all-new Ben Kenobi, an all-new Han Solo, and a partially new Chewbacca, all from A New Hope. We finally got the A New Hope Princess Leia. She's on the way, and now we're finally getting the rest of the main heroes from A New Hope, and I'm very excited to see we're getting these. I knew they were coming, we just didn't know how long it was going to be, and so obviously they've timed these releases to go with the Cantina, since all 4 of those characters obviously are in the Cantina. So very excited. Thank you so much, Hasbro, for finally making the mains. Now go ahead and get us an all-new C-3PO. All right, I got some pickups to share, and this first one is specifically related to the HasLab. This is the Ubrakion 9000 land speeder pod from outside of the Cantina. This was made by Stan Solo Creations. It's in that Kenner style, but it looks fantastic. I love the packaging. Let's go ahead and get it open. All right, so right away, I'm very impressed with the quality of this thing. It's not like something someone threw together on a 3D printer and just glued it all. This feels like an actual toy from Kenner back in the day. And I say it feels like a Kenner toy, but at the same time, it's very screen accurate. So let's go ahead and pop the hatch up here. And that feels good. You know, it kind of snaps undone. It feels sturdy. And looking inside, that is awesome. That is so old school with the molding there, but then they've also thrown in some decals. There's a radar, and then there's a screen of the image of Mos Eisley, I guess, from across the way. That is a very cool little touch there, and there's some buttons on the sides as well. Yeah, so very impressed with this thing so far, and next I'd like to try to fit a few different types of figures in here. Now this thing was probably built in mind with having Kenner figures put in it. So I'm going to try a few modern figures. We'll start with a 5 POA modern figure, sort of 5 POA, and that is Garandan. And he does not go in easily. He can't bend his knees. He's just got swivel hips, and he's just kind of bulky. And I think he's a lot bulkier than like a traditional Kenner figure. So that didn't work at all. Next, let's try Rum Slag. He looks like he would drive this thing, and he's been seen on Tatooine. He's got a little more articulation. Let's see if I can make him fit in there. And he was difficult, but see, his head sticks out the top. So I guess these modern figures are overall a bit bulkier, maybe even a little bit taller than the traditional Kenner figures were. So next I'm going to try a female character. I got Hera Syndulla here, great figure, plenty of articulation, and she fits perfectly. So that's the key if you want to put a modern figure in this land speeder, is to get female characters. You see I'm putting Sabine in here with her, and they both fit just fine. So that all works out great. You know, it's not ideal that I have to use female figures only if I want to put modern figures in this thing. So that's a bit of a disappointment. But overall, this thing is not for playing and for putting figures in necessarily. It's for show and to go with my Cantina. And by the way, a dewback looks great. You know, the dewback is in that opening scene, not far away from this land speeder. And so if Hasbro truly wants to run a Tatooine campaign, they gotta give us an all new dewback to go with the Cantina, as well as an all new Sand Trooper 4-pack. Those two things to me are a must to complete the story that Steve Evans keeps referring to. But that all being said, I do not anticipate Hasbro ever making this particular land speeder. Just not going to happen, and so I wanted to jump on it and get this thing ordered from Stan Solo. I have a feeling he's going to sell out very quickly if he hasn't already, given the new HasLab. And I'm very happy with this thing. Not so happy that I can't fit, you know, majority of figures inside it, but I didn't buy it for playing or for putting figures inside. I bought it for show to display next to the outside portion of that Cantina. I can't wait. It's going to look fantastic. All right, so continuing the theme of A New Hope in this video, I got the new R2-D2, the clean version of VC 149. Such a beautiful classic card back with the Hildebrandt logo and that clean image of R2-D2 with the blue in the background that really pops. And finally we get a clean version of R2 to go with the clean version of the image. If you recall, the old one was weathered up, and I'll bring him out in a second. You can see it is VC 149 still. They've stuck with that VC number and just given us the clean version. I just see this release as Hasbro righting a wrong from a few years ago. And let's take a look at that wrong. Here is the original VC 149. You can see the backs of the card are different. There's the older style versus the newer style. But see, both VC 149. So the only difference is the figure, and it is the same mold, but look at that ridiculous weathering on R2. It is such a poor job. It just seems like a sloppy job, and it's just way too much dirt. I think they were going for the desert Tatooine R2, even though the image is from the Yavin ceremony, and so it just didn't make sense. But notice this, the little cables on his feet are actually a more lighter metallic color on the new one. But again, this is the same mold. It's just a cleaner version, a little bit more paint apps, and it just looks better overall. I really wish they had just done this to begin with, but at least they've corrected it. Again, they're using an older mold, so that's not exciting, but it's better than nothing. I'm just glad they listened to a lot of the collectors that complained about that dirty version of the R2 being on the clean R2 card back. And lastly for today, I just wanted to show you guys that I finally got the Boba Fett / Jabba the Hutt throne room set. I just wasn't willing to pay the money they were asking for on this one. I wasn't quite excited enough about it. I ordered the Jabba the Hutt set, but I just didn't order this one. But then Hasbro Pulse had a great sale the other day and had this thing marked down 35% to $149.50. And at $150, I am a buyer for this set, and I'm so glad I got it because it is awesome. It's actually a little bit better in person than I thought it would be, and I've had a ton of fun on it. Here I'm using Bossk on the throne. This is my what if scenario if Bossk took over Jabba's palace instead of Bib Fortuna. And it's just a blast to be able to pose a lot of those Return of the Jedi figures on this set. So really looking forward to the new Jabba the Hutt to come in. That's going to look great with this set. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Brett on Fett. Let me know in the comments what you think of the new Cantina HasLab and whether or not you plan on backing it. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Don't forget you can also follow me on Instagram. Take care, and we'll see you next time.